What is up, everybody? Welcome to the first episode of Touchdown Talk. I'm your host, ZB, Zack Brown. We're going to dive into all things football, focusing on NFL the first couple episodes. We're going to dive into a little bit of the power rankings that I have come out with from all 32 NFL teams, starting at the bottom, going to the top, talk about all the notable free agent and trade acquisitions in this offseason, and getting you ready for the first preseason game and the Hall of Fame game this year. So let's get to it. All right, everybody, this is a brand new podcast out for you, talking about all things football. And these first two episodes are going to discuss a lot about the NFL, dive into some power rankings and everything. And obviously, you can tell I am an Eagles fan, and obviously App State fan for college football. So I'm used to a lot of disappointment, you could say, especially this past season with the Eagles. Do I think they could have a bounce back year? Definitely. Definitely they can get back and possibly win it, but they do have the toughest schedule in the NFL. It'll be interesting to see how, with them losing all these coaches, and how they can handle it going forward with brand new play callers. Jalen Hurts probably going to have about the same offense, but different play caller for him this year. So it'll be interesting to see how they transition. It's a coach that he's known for a long, long time. So I think they'll be fine. I actually think the defense is going to be better off this year. I said it time and time again, I don't think Jonathan Gannon's defense was necessarily the best. I think it just had very good personnel to overcome some of the flaws that were in that system. And I think the defense coordinator getting brought from Seattle, seeing that aggressive style of defense, bring it to Philadelphia. I think you'll see a lot more traditional Philadelphia type defense coming forward. But this is not a Philadelphia Eagles podcast. I'm not going to go all about that. Obviously, I'll go back and forth with it. But we're here to talk about all things NFL, these first couple ones. So let's dive into a little bit of the offseason acquisitions. We'll go by divisions. Let's start with the AFC East and the biggest one of the entire year. Aaron Rodgers gets traded to the New York Jets from the Green Bay Packers. Obviously, this was foreseen for a long time, but it finally became official after a couple months of stalemate talks. So, Aaron Rodgers is now the new quarterback for the New York Jets. Instantly makes them playoff contenders. Just bringing his leadership, his experience, and just his pure skill as a passer, one of the best passers in the NFL, in the NFL history. I think you'll see the Jets compete every single week. And I think that you'll see them at least make the playoffs, if not even win the division. Now, I'm not going to go through the division wins yet. Well, we'll get into that in a couple weeks, what my preseason division picks are. Way too early predictions for that. Anything can happen in the NFL, as we know, though. Injury can instantly stop it. But I think the Jets were one quarterback away from being very successful. They have a tremendous defense, and Aaron Rodgers is going to step into one of the best defenses he's had in his career. Barring any injuries, I think it'll be a really good season for the New York Jets. And finally, some good football in, well, I guess New Jersey, but for the New York football teams, both the Jets and Giants, having very optimistic looking year. So diving into the AFC East, talking about the Buffalo Bills, they'd had some signings, and now you have a little bit of a holdout with Stephon Diggs, so keep a close look on that. And obviously there's some tension between him, the coaching staff, and Josh Allen as well. So it'd be very interesting to see what happens with the Buffalo Bills this year. Not a whole lot of big signings for the Bills. They did sign Damian Harris and Latavius Murray. So building up that backfield along with Singletary, I think it'll be I'm all for having different running backs in the rotation, keep everybody fresh. You don't have that one running back to be able to, you keep running, and then eventually breaks out, like you do with, say, Derrick Henry or something. But I think that an offense that's not exactly built for the running game, I think it's about perfect for the Bills in this situation. So having a bunch of different veteran running backs in the rotation, I think will go a long way. The biggest re-signing they had was Jordan Poyer. After a bunch of talk, if he was going to go to a different team, he signs a 2-year deal with the Buffalo Bills to remain their starting safety. So they had a bunch of other smaller acquisitions that were made, but those are the big highlights of the Buffalo Bills. Moving forward, going to the Miami Dolphins. Obviously, they signed Mike White from the New York Jets. So very solid backup there. And seeing that Tua is injury prone and concussion prone, and you don't know how his health's going to be going forward through the year. It'll be interesting to see how he changes his play style. I know he's taken Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu classes to learn how to fall better and not land on his head. So that remains to be seen if any of that worked. But having a really good backup like Mike White, I think it's going to go a long way, and they have a good safety net if something does happen to Tua. Another big one, they re-signed 2 running backs. Actually, 3 running backs. They re-signed all 3 running backs. Myles Gaskin, Raheem Mostert, and Jeff Wilson. Very, very good running backs. This is a very fast offense. I think this will be one of the most explosive offenses in the entire league. The AFC East is tough. And you can never count even out the Patriots. I mean, they don't have on paper the best roster, but they do have one of the best coaches of all time. So you can never count them out. So AFC East is stacked. That's going to be a tough division. Any opponent that goes against them outside of the division going to have a tough time, especially with the Miami Dolphins. It'll be tough. They're fast. I mean, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, two of the fastest guys in the entire league, and they're one of the best wide receiver duos. Tua's been working on his craft. They're going to be up there competing, and they'll be one of the best AFC teams as well. Again, it's a tough division, so anything can happen. And those are the biggest highlights out of them. They signed Robbie Anderson, his former name, and Braxton Berrios to add to the depth of the wide receiver room. Always got to have some decent wide receiver depth, because that's one of the most critical positions in the NFL at this point. You got to have good receivers to do well, and got to have depth because you got to foresee that there are probably going to be injuries. So got to keep adding depth to those rooms, and you got depth in the running back room. Miami Dolphins they're pretty much stacked. They're ready to go. And the biggest one on defense they had, and this is actually probably one of the biggest signings in the entire trades in the entire NFL this past season. Jalen Ramsey goes down to South Beach, and he will be a force to be reckoned with now that the cornerback room in Miami is very solid. So look out for them. They're great defense, great offense now. Mike McDaniel is going into his second year, had his first year in the belt. I think you'll see a bunch of improvement with the Miami Dolphins, and as long as they stay healthy, I think they will be one of the best, if not the best team. I was going to say one of the best teams in the AFC. The New England Patriots. They got Mike Gesicki. That was a big target they had on their offense from the Miami Dolphins. He's going up north, and their offense also, they got James Robinson, the running back, and Juju Smith-Schuster, TikTok King, is going up to New England. So we'll see how he fits in with the Patriots culture. I think it's slowly changing, though. I think Bill's style's changed over the years as everything's kind of become a little more modern and everything. Um, but the Patriots, you can never count them out. It just kind of goes down to, what is Mac Jones going to do this year? Is he going to be able to be the guy? Be the guy that is basically Tom Brady? Are you going to be able to facilitate the offense? Are you going to be able to get back to where you were that got you drafted in the first round? We'll see. Bill O'Brien coming back in as offense coordinator, that is going to be a huge deal for the Patriots. I think the offense will be a lot more efficient and more consistent as well this year. You can't just have relying on the defense completely. So yeah, I think the Patriots are still going to be competitive, and you can never count them out. I'm never going to count them out. Again, later on this episode, we'll go and check it out for the power rankings where I got them so far, but that doesn't mean where they can't go. I mean, they're going to be on the lower end of the power rankings, obviously, but I mean, that doesn't mean they can't shoot up quickly. I mean, seeing Bill Belichick over the years, never count them out. And again, back to the New York Jets. Obviously, you talked about Aaron Rodgers going there, but they also took a bunch of the Packers. So it's basically the New York Packers. And they got Tim Boyle, who was actually on the Packers at some point, the backup quarterback, to be a third-string quarterback right behind Zack Wilson, presumably. They got Randall Cobb, another great friend of Aaron Rodgers and a target that he is very familiar with. Won't get as many targets in the game, but he can lead that wide receiver room, those young not rookies, but younger receivers. You got Garrett Wilson, Offensive Rookie of the Year. Randall Cobb's been in it for a long time, so he can show them the smaller things and just keep improving that wide receiver room. And you got Allen Lazard, great possession receiver, but he also has been known as a great blocking receiver in the running game. So I think that was a big reason Aaron Rodgers wanted Allen Lazard. Obviously, the familiarity as well, but being able to block and just continuing to improve that wide receiver room at depth, that's huge. And I think the Jets are going to be competing for every single game, and I think you'll see them at the top of the AFC and definitely the AFC East by the end of the year. Adding a veteran like Aaron Rodgers, Hall of Famer like Aaron Rodgers, you're going to have your expectations elevated just like that. Moving to the AFC North, the biggest news going in the Ravens. Lamar Jackson finally signed his deal, and it was a 5-year, $260 million extension, $135 million guaranteed, and then total guarantees $185 million. It's no trade clause. So finally, the Ravens signed Lamar Jackson, one of the premier quarterbacks in the entire league. He was obviously looking for something with the Deshaun Watson type contract, but the Browns really screwed up the whole quarterback market when they signed him like that. Lamar is a former MVP, and he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and he's become a very good pocket passer too, that people aren't talking about. But he's also injury prone, so you got to balance everything out. He's not out there getting involved with any type of sexual assault allegations, so that's probably where he's like, hey, I need to have more than Deshaun because he's in all this bad stuff. But I think they came to a good agreement. After Jalen Hurts was signed with the Eagles, Lamar was able to agree to a deal that was a little bit more than his, but very similar. And the other big signing for them, they got Odell Beckham Jr. That'll be very interesting to see how he and Lamar have chemistry, and if both of them can stay healthy. So definitely an explosive offense. It'll be interesting to see in the AFC North. And the Cincinnati Bengals, they wanted to solidify their offensive line. They still had struggles there. They signed Orlando Brown, who was just on the Super Bowl winning Kansas City Chiefs. So, huge 4-year, $64 million contract for that offensive tackle. Big guy to protect Joe Burrow. I think that's really all the Bengals were missing, was just to solidify that offensive line. It got better to the second half because they signed all those offensive linemen last season. And it wasn't working out in the beginning, but it took time. They built chemistry, and they got better towards the end, and they end up in the AFC Championship game. So they still are one of the best teams in the AFC, and definitely the favorite to win the AFC North again. And the Cleveland Browns. Not really a whole lot going on with them. Zadarius Smith for defense was their biggest signing. From the Vikings, trade with the Vikings, and then he was with the Packers before. The defense is really solid for the Browns, but we still don't know what the offense is going to bring, with Deshaun Watson still coming off a year and a half off before and had a little bit last year, but he didn't look very good. But now he's got a whole offseason to be with his team and be in the facility, and I assume he's going to play some preseason games to see where he's at from there. So, moving down to another team in the AFC North that nobody seems to be talking about, and everybody's giving a bunch of shit to the Steelers organization for re-signing Mike Tomlin to a 3-year extension. Yes, he has not won a Super Bowl in a while, or even a playoff game in a little while. But he takes a team that's complete crap and turns them into a winning team. He hasn't had a losing season since he's been a coach. And last year they thought that very well could be the losing season. Well, no. As good of a coach as he is, you're never. It's just like how the Patriots are. You can't count out this team at all. Their biggest signing was Allen Robinson on offense, adding a big-time veteran in the wide receiver room. And they're solidifying the offensive line. They're taking some former Philadelphia Eagles. You got Nate Herbig and Isaac Seumalo. Getting the interior of that offensive line solidified, and to protect little hand Kenny Pickett. But he was very impressive to me last year, and I think he'll just take another step forward this year. I think the biggest thing holding the Steelers back is their offensive coordinator, Matt Canada. And I just, I don't know. I don't know why they keep insisting on having him as offense coordinator. I don't know what kind of leverage he has on the organization, but he definitely needs to find somewhere else to go, for sure. And they need a different offensive coordinator. But we'll see what the limitations are this year with the offense and see how the Steelers are that way. And their defense, they added one of the best corners of all time, Patrick Peterson, signed from the Minnesota Vikings on a 2-year deal. And if anything, he adds that veteran leadership on defense and can lead the young guys to learn a lot more, to be better. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes with the Steelers. It'll be interesting for sure. All right, we're going to the AFC South now. The Houston Texans were able to sign C.J. Stroud. That was the biggest draft pick that they had from Ohio, the quarterback from Ohio State. I don't know how it's going to shake up with him. There's a bunch of questions surrounding him, and Ohio State quarterbacks don't generally pan out very well. There's talk about his football IQ is not very good. His Wonderlic score was not very high. But we don't know if that actually translates to good play on the field. But you're going to one of the worst organizations right now that's trying to do a big turnaround. Brand new coach, D'Amico Ryans, former Texan, so he knows the culture of that city, and he knows what the team needs to get it done. It's going to take some time. I don't think it's going to be a quick turnaround. I think there's going to be a lot of growing pains. But I think the Texans are going to be in good hands with D'Amico there. but again, it remains to be seen. We don't know. It's quarterback is the most important position in the NFL. They brought in Case Keenum to help that quarterback room with his veteran leadership. So it's going to be interesting to see. They bring in Devin Singletary from the Bills. So C.J. Stroud is surrounded by a bunch of veterans, a coach that's got it done defensively, but he knows this league, he knows the organization very well. So I think it's great leadership that is being brought to the Houston Texans. So it'll be definitely interesting. Laramie Tunsil signed a humongous deal for an offensive tackle, 3 years, $75 million. Get the bag. So he's staying in Houston. People thought he would want to leave because, I mean, it's the Houston Texans, what we're talking about. But Laramie Tunsil's been there, he wants to stay there, and he wants to see this organization grow and improve each and every week. He's got that rookie quarterback I know he's excited about. So we'll see. It's nobody really knows. They've got Noah Brown and Robert Woods they brought in, add veteran leadership into the wide receiver room. That's what been a key about this offseason for all teams, to bring in veteran leadership with the wide receivers. So we'll see. Staying in the AFC South, the Indianapolis Colts, Anthony Richardson was drafted by them, number 4 overall. I think it was a shock to a lot of people. I think it's been a lot of question marks because the University of Florida was terrible. Anthony Richardson has so much potential and probably the most upside, and he's got incredible athleticism. And there's been videos of him just chucking a ball with just standing there, not even hips rotating, and just on the dime, 65 yards. That's impressive. Having on the field IQ, we'll see his decision making. I think it'll be a solid pick for the Colts, but not every quarterback's going to work out from this draft. Everybody's got to understand that. There's going to be terrible picks that, looking back on, it happens every single draft. Brand new coach, the former offensive coordinator from the Philadelphia Eagles, and I wish him the best. Shane Steichen. He basically turned Jalen Hurts' career around, and obviously Jalen's just want and desire and leadership. That just you can't really coach that, because he wanted to improve each and every week, but Shane was able to help mold him into what he needed to be and bring that offense to where it was. So definitely big time coach hire there. I think the offense will definitely improve. It's still going to be growing pains. The AFC South is going to be interesting. Obviously, I think the favorite is still the Jacksonville Jaguars, which we'll get to next. But I think the Colts are in good hands with Steichen. I think it'll take a year or two for them to really get going. Gardner Minshew's been brought over there from Philly as well. I think you'll see Gardner start off maybe the first game or two, but I think it's going to be all on Anthony Richardson. As soon as he gets the go-ahead, he's going to be rolling. They drafted him from number 4 overall. They want to see what he's got. So not a whole lot of signings for the Colts. They did unveil a really cool alternate uniforms, a bunch of new alternate uniforms. So check them out if you haven't. That's on Facebook, everywhere, NFL.com, all that stuff. So go check all that stuff out. But it'll be interesting for the Colts. Pat McAfee, I know you want your Colts to do well, so we'll see how it goes for them. The AFC South's kind of wide open, really, especially to get that second place and possibly into the playoffs at the end. The Jacksonville Jaguars, like I said, I think they are the surefire favorite to win the AFC South, especially the steps they took at the end of the year. Doug Peterson's done an incredible job. Wish nothing but the best for Doug Peterson. Brought the only Super Bowl to the Eagles, so obviously he's got a special place in my heart and the fans of Philadelphia. Not a whole lot of signings with them. They did get Evan Ingram in the offseason. And Calvin Ridley will be able to play this year finally after getting off the suspension for the illegal gambling he had. So that'll be interesting to see how much more explosive that offense gets and the more weapons. Trevor Lawrence is on par to have a really big year, I think. I think definitely a Pro Bowl year. Doesn't take much to get to a Pro Bowl apparently, but all Pro year as well. I think Trevor Lawrence will be one of the best quarterbacks in fantasy football and obviously in the actual season as well, having a big time year. Going to the last AFC South team to mention, Tennessee Titans. The biggest news coming out was that DeAndre Hopkins has signed with a 2-year deal with the Tennessee Titans. Pretty shocking. He wanted like a steady organization, had that, but he also wanted a good defense, had that. He wanted a good quarterback. Doesn't have that. I mean, he's got Will Levis that got drafted to the Tennessee Titans. Could very well end up being the starter eventually, but I don't really know about Will Levis right now. I could be wrong, but he kind of seems a little bit about himself, and that's been talked about quite often. So we'll see how it goes. But D-Hop to Nashville, big-time signing by the Tennessee Titans. They've also signed Andre Dillard, former Philadelphia Eagles offensive tackle. So having some solid offensive linemen brought in to the Tennessee Titans brings some protection for Tannehill right now, and then I guess inevitably it'll be Will Levis. Looks like Malik Willis's time there will be short. I don't think he'll be there much longer. I know they're trying to find trades for him, but I don't think anybody really wants him right now. Small sample that was left last year. I mean, it was okay. But Titans trying to bolster that offense big time with D-Hop. I mean, they let A.J. Brown go, so thank you for that personally. But it'll... I don't know how the Titans will be this year. It's a bunch of unknowns. And the final AFC team division, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. Final AFC team, AFC East. I mean, what's to say? You got Denver Broncos bringing in Sean Payton in that big-time trade for him with New Orleans. If there's anybody that's going to bring back the old Russell Wilson, it's Sean Payton. Russell Wilson looks like he's worked hard this offseason. He's cut some weight. He's not as bulky as he was, and we'll see if he has a better mindset this year. It looked like it was kind of a TV type show he was thinking he was living in, so we'll see. They don't really have a whole lot of acquisitions that are worth mentioning besides just Sean Payton, and I think that's really all you're going to need. They have the defense, they had offensive weapons, they just need somebody to figure it all out. So we'll see how the Broncos handle everything and how Russell Wilson does. That's going to be how the season goes. Is Russell Wilson back? Again, one of the things that's a bunch of unknowns right now. We don't know. And Russell could be completely washed up. I don't think he is. I think his skill set's there. I think Sean Payton will bring it back to him. And could be competitive. But the AFC West is hard because the next team we're going to talk about is the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. They re-signed Jerick McKinnon. Everybody thought that D-Hop was going to end up at Kansas City and be like, of course, Kansas City gets another weapon like that. But they did not. Not a whole lot of big signings that they had. Chris Jones, I think, was holding out for a little bit to get a better contract. Don't really know the exact issues on that. Obviously, he wants more money, but don't know if he's still holding out. I don't think so, especially playing for Andy Reid, one of the best coaches of all time. Patrick Mahomes, one of the best quarterbacks of all time. Travis Kelce, one of the best, if not the best, tight ends of all time. So you're not going to see the Chiefs go anywhere anytime soon. Everybody wants to say, oh, they lost Tyreek Hill and they're going to be terrible. Well, they weren't. So never count them out. Everybody's learning their lesson there. Because I'm pretty sure I picked the Chargers or the Broncos last year to win the division. I was way off. So don't go against Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs. The Las Vegas Raiders, the biggest signing of the offseason was Jimmy Garoppolo from the 49ers. That's a question. Is that going to is there we gonna have a good quarterback? Are they gonna have a good quarterback? Is Jimmy Garoppolo gonna be Jimmy Garoppolo that it shows up for a few games then gets hurt, or is he just gonna be the injury prone Jimmy Garoppolo? We don't know. I know he's hurt right now, and they're not even sure if he's going to end up starting the year. So, the Raiders have every weapon around them to be good. You got Josh Jacobs there in the running back field if he doesn't hold out, which sounds like there might be quite a bit of holdouts for the running backs this year. And you got Devontae Adams, and I mean, what do you want? Like, you got Jacoby Myers out there, wide receiver room. I mean, I I don't know what they want. I mean, um, yeah, I don't know. They lost Darren Waller, but Jimmy Garoppolo's got everything in front of him. So um, we'll see. We'll see how they do. I don't know if they have much of a chance in this division, and I think they need to kind of. It sounds bad, but I think they need a tank to get a better quarterback in the draft and a young quarterback that can be their future. Devontae's getting in the second half of his career, and he's not going to want to wait too much longer. He goes from a Hall of Fame quarterback to not even close to a Hall of Fame quarterback. So they lost Derek Carr, so we'll see how all that goes. And going to the Los Angeles Chargers, not a bunch of big signings that are just splash or anything, but they've pretty much held on to everybody that they could. It comes down to another year. Can Justin Herbert continue and improve? Can they actually finish games? They've led many games and they can't seem to finish them. Well, is this going to be the year where they do? Where they seem to have the Chiefs' number. They can compete against the Chiefs, but then they'll lose randomly to like the Texans or somebody. You got to be consistent this year. So they made a playoff appearance and blew it. Literally, they blew against the Jaguars after a humongous lead. What, 27-0 lead or 24-0 lead? They lost. So I think this is Brandon Staley's last chance to see what the Chargers' full potential can be. Going to the division that I know a lot about, with the Eagles being there, the NFC East. Start off with the Dallas Cowboys. Zeke is gone, and Tony Pollard's going to get the nod as the main running back. He signed a franchise tag. And Brandon Cooks was brought in to add to the wide receiver room there. And Stephon Gilmore on defense adds to their cornerback depth as well. So, I mean, the Cowboys are going to be there to compete. But every single year, everybody's going to get the hype up. They're saying, oh, we dem boys, we dem boys, we dem boys. And you either miss the playoffs or you're one and done in the playoffs. So that's just not me being an Eagles fan trash talking the hell out of the Cowboys. It's literally facts. Yes, you guys have 5 Super Bowls. And the Eagles have 1. I don't need to be reminded of that shit. Yes, I get it. You guys haven't been relevant in 30 years almost. So, I don't know if Dak Prescott's the answer or not. And I don't know if Mike McCarthy's the answer. I think the Cowboys are good on paper. They can win. They can beat anybody. But it's situational awareness. And it's quarterback play. And that's what this league comes down to. So, again, I'm going to reveal the power rankings here in a little bit. Release the bottom end of it. I don't know if the Cowboys will be in the bottom part of it. I really want them to be. But being legitimate and looking at their roster, I don't think they will be. And the New York Football Giants next on the list. Daniel Jones signs an enormous deal that he's not worth all the money, but okay, whatever. The Giants got their guy for another 4 years, $160 million. I think it's a waste of money because Daniel Jones had a semi-good year this year. And he won a playoff game against the Vikings where Kirk Cousins is the quarterback of and he doesn't win big-time games of. Saquon Barkley is He's not signed his franchise tag, and he's probably going to hold out. That's what he's saying. He basically said, "Fuck you guys." So I think he actually did say "fuck you guys." So I mean, that'll be interesting. Is that offense going to even be the same without Saquon? They're building up their wide receiver room, re-signing Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton. They bring in Jamison Crowder and Paris Campbell. I mean, Daniel Jones got more targets, but again, if you don't have Saquon, I don't think it's the same. It's definitely not the same offense. You don't have that threat. You do have Darren Waller brought in, so that's a big-time signing for them. But that just means you got to figure out how to just double-team Darren Waller. You don't have the humongous threat of a wide receiver out there. But the Giants are definitely good. And if Saquon will play this year, that'll be big time for them. And moving to the Eagles. The biggest news for the Eagles this year, Jalen Hurts signs a 5-year, $255 million humongous-ass contract that he earned every damn penny of it. It goes more than just his quarterback play from this past year. It goes about his leadership. You can't teach that. There's quarterbacks in this league that are making a ton of money, and they don't have the leadership. They don't have the locker room. They don't have people that want to play with them, play for them. Like a certain quarterback of the Arizona Cardinals that is on injury reserve for a little while. The money is definitely worth it, but Jalen Hurts has been raised right. He's very humble, incredible human being as well, obviously, as a football player, and he just wants more. He just wants more for the guys. He just wants to make sure the team does their very best. He's all about that. Obviously, he got his bag. He's very excited. He's excited about that, but he's not going to show his emotions about it. He's ready to pick up where he left off in the Super Bowl, which was one of the best Super Bowl performances by a quarterback, minus that fumble that was returned for a touchdown. Other than that, it was an amazing Super Bowl that he performed in. It was just a bunch of letdowns by the defense and the situations that the defensive coordinator put them in. But congrats to Jalen Hurts. Awesome for the Eagles, and I just hope he maintains that just level of commitment and excellence and just drive to continue to be better. And I think he will. Marcus Mariota was signed to be a backup, so he fits in more into that offense than Gardner Minshew did. So if Jalen does go down for some reason, I think Marcus can come in there and kind of at least facilitate the offense into a way that doesn't have to change drastically. I think that will be I think it was a very good signing for them to get Marcus Mariota. Finally gets Marcus Mariota after there was talk that Chip Kelly would have drafted him back when Mariota was coming out of Oregon. So good backup quarterback, and Eagles fans, backup quarterback is a big deal, as 2017 will show you. The Eagles they just signed all the Georgia players. I mean Georgia, the Philadelphia Bulldogs. I'm very excited to see what they do with those new draftees on defense. The edge rushers, the Jalen Carter and the inside. I'm excited. And then you got with Keely Ringo as a corner. I think he's going to obviously be special teams at first, but I think he's going to turn out to be a very solid cornerback for the Eagles. So be on the lookout for that. But on offense, you got Rashad Penny. He's injury prone, but when you have 7,000 running backs, you'll be fine. They lost Miles Sanders, but Howie Roseman knows how to work the dang cap. So you get Rashad Penny, you get Boston Scott, and you get DeAndre Swift, who's from Georgia. And with DeAndre back there too, and he adds that element in the passing game, obviously as well as the running game. But when DeAndre is healthy, he is just an incredible running back. And I think just to not give every back too many carries, I think it's going to come out very solid for them. And I think a big running back rotation is key. And having that big time receiver is also big. Every time the Eagles had a number one receiver, which they got two number one receivers really, they've gone on to do well in the playoffs. So keeping that, and you keep running backs like that, I think it's going to be the recipe for another great season. But they've got one of the hardest schedules, so that it's going to be a tough year. There's going to be losses. Eagles fans, don't freak out when they lose. I will, but I think they'll be fine, and I think they'll be in contention just like they were last year. Jason Kelce re-signs. Huge shout out to Big Jason Kelce. Glad you're back for another year. We know time's winding down, but we needed one more year. After the podcast you and your brother had, and just getting to know the Kelce's and everything, it was needed. It was awesome to see. We're excited for you. We're excited for the offensive line. It'll be Cam Jurgensen going to be learning with Jason Kelce. He's going to fill into where Isaac Seumalo was. Most likely, I'm very excited to see where the offensive line goes, because that's the biggest thing. The trenches are the biggest asset to the football teams. Eagles are able to sign, I don't know how. They got Fletcher back. They got Brandon Graham back. And James Bradbury and Darius Slay. The defense is all coming back together. They got safeties, Terrell Edmonds and Justin Evans. Very good, solid safeties. The Eagles, as long as everybody's put in the right position, I think they're ready to go. I'm not going to get overly hype about it, because as an Eagles fan, I'm used to getting disappointed, so I don't want to get too overly optimistic about everything. But let's move into the Washington Commanders, finish out the NFC East. Obviously, Sam Howell's probably going to get the nod as a starting quarterback. Jacoby Brissett gets brought in. And there weren't a whole lot of humongous signings from the Commanders, but they did get new ownership finally. You get Magic Johnson as a minority owner coming in, and everywhere he seems to own, they have success. But this could be this could be the last year of the Washington Commanders themselves. You might see a name change come next year, is what they were saying. So we'll see how the players play for owners that actually care about them, and they need to fix that damn field. Fix those shit pipes of sewage leakage grossness there. Fix FedEx Field. Go in the NFC North. Obviously, the Packers are out of the Aaron Rodgers saga, and I think a lot of Packers fans have mixed emotions. They obviously wanted Aaron Rodgers back, but they're kind of tired of all the drama that happened. So it is Jordan Love's time. We'll see how he does. I'm looking forward to see how Jordan Love competes. It's a division with a few young quarterbacks now. The Bears, Justin Fields, can he lead his team to success? He's got DJ Moore now from the Panthers, who traded way too much for him, I think. But good for Chicago getting DJ Moore. Yeah. I think the Panthers traded him to get the number 1 pick, and then the Bears also got the number 9 overall pick. Damn, Panthers, you just sold everything. You just gave out everything. You're really banking on Bryce to do well this year. But Bears will be decent this year, I think. Justin Fields, if they kind of get him to get his situational awareness, and he's already knows the NFL speed now. Another year in the bags, I think he'll be all right. He's kind of talking shit that he's one of the best running quarterbacks of all time. He's played one damn year, not even a whole year, so I don't really like that. But we'll see how the Bears do this year. Talk about the Lions. I think they're the favorite to win this division now. They probably could have won it last year. They continue to improve every single year. I mean, they're going to bite kneecaps off and just eat your ankles, whatever the coach calls it. But MCDC, Dan Campbell, they got David Montgomery. They obviously lost DeAndre Swift, and they lost Jamal Williams to the Saints. And but they picked up CJ from the Eagles, CJ Gardner-Johnson. The Eagles fans, don't get too mad about CJ. Did help us lead us to the Super Bowl, but he wants to talk a bunch of shit right now. But let's not talk about that right now. But the Lions, they keep pretty much everybody together, And I think Jared Goff is shining right now. I think he could be the quarterback. They got Hendon Hooker in the draft, who's going to be hurt for a little while, but he could be their future. And I think Jared Goff would be a good leader for them. But obviously, the Jared Goff Carson Wentz debate from 2016, Jared Goff seems to be the one that's doing the best because Carson Wentz is still not on a team, and Jared Goff's winning games as a starting quarterback in the NFL, and for the Lions, no less. All right. Going to Minnesota. They lost Adam Thielen to the Panthers, but you still have Justin Jefferson. They signed an amazing receiver in the draft as well. A draft receiver in the draft. But it comes down once again to quarterback play. Is Kirk Cousins going to be the guy? I mean, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. The Minnesota Vikings are kind of proving that. Kirk Cousins can bring you to the playoffs, but you haven't got anywhere. You did better when you had Case Keenum as your quarterback. I don't know what the Vikings can do to get over the hump. It's too late to obviously sign a quarterback now. They might need to look at trading up in next season's draft and get a quarterback of the future. Because I don't think Kirk Cousins is the answer. He's the best mediocre quarterback I've ever seen, kind of like how I am at fantasy. I don't know. I mean, Vikings will be one of the favorites to be up there, but Kevin O'Connell's got his hands full. He can only do so much. He can have a great offense, but put into place, but can Kirk deliver? That's another question going into the season. The NFC South, which is not the strongest division now that Tom Brady is left, but all the teams are very excited about the Atlanta Falcons. First, we'll get on talk about that. Not a whole lot's going on with the Falcons. It'll be interesting to see if they have Ritter start and if he can do well. They got Scotty motherfucking Miller from Tampa though, so that little white guy can move. So we'll see how he does. Exciting to see that, but I mean, Kyle Pitts kind of looking like he's a little bit of a bust as a tight end, and I knew there was too much hype to go about him. You can't hype up a tight end that much and then expect him to be the next Hall of Fame Tony Gonzalez or something. But Falcons are there. They'll probably be on the first set of the power rankings here coming up here shortly. Carolina Panthers, they traded everything away to get that number 1 pick. They lost DJ Moore, but they also got Adam Thielen. They've got DJ Chark. And they've got Bryce Young. And I think Bryce Young is 4'4", but he... no, he's like 5'8", or 5'10", something like that. He's not tall. But if you have the right... You get Frank Reich in as kind of the quarterback whisperer, and he knows how to put the quarterbacks in the right position... I think Bryce Young could be competitive this year. I think his leadership skills very similar to what Jalen Hurts are, and for all the small interviews and quotes I've heard from Bryce, I think the Panthers can have a solid year. I don't think they'll be a playoff contender, but I think they'll be making a big step in the right direction. The New Orleans Saints, they signed Derek Carr to a 4-year deal. I think it's a better option than they had. I don't think Jameis Winston was the answer. Jameis Winston's still down there. He'll be the backup quarterback. But I think Derek Carr can do decent. I don't think it's going to be huge. I don't know how much of a difference. It's the NFC South's wide open. And I don't really know who to pick right now. It's something like I keep diving into. But Michael Thomas signed a new 1-year deal with them. And see if he and Derek Carr can bring back some good excitement like Drew Brees and Michael Thomas had. We'll see. Jamal Williams, like I was saying, he from the Lions came to the Saints. There's a solid running back to go along with Alvin Kamara. You don't know what the assault allegations are going to happen with Kamara, if he's going to get suspended. That happened a couple years ago. So we'll see. But that's pretty much all of the big signings for the Saints. The defense stays pretty much the same, and I think there'll be another solid defense. And Tampa Bay Buccaneers is the successor of Tom Brady. Is it really going to be Baker Mayfield? We'll see. It's a one-year deal. He gets a shot. He looked pretty decent in the Rams games he had, and to learn that offense that quickly and was able to lead to game-winning drives. We'll see how Baker handles the pressure that is to try to fill the void of what was Tom Brady down there. Tampa is now, their expectations are super high since Brady was there, and they expect that type of leadership. They expect the type of success. So it'll be interesting for certain how Tampa Bay handles the post-Brady era. The NFC West, kind of injury-plagued this past year, and the Arizona Cardinals are definition of that. They're going to start off injury-plagued with Kyler Murray, their supposed franchise quarterback, going to be out. I think he's going to be out until October, if I was reading everything correctly. Not a whole bunch of signings. They signed some lower-tier defensive players to be possibly special teamers as well. They get Jonathan Gannon, the Eagles defensive coordinator from the horrible Super Bowl, and basically we said, no, you stay in Arizona and don't ever come back. That's how I took it, so stay there. Don't know why he would sign him after that. It wasn't even that great of a defense. He just had good players, so they're probably going to regret it. And I don't think the Cardinals are a very good team. Zach Ertz is going to be out, and J.J. Watt retired, and I think it's just a shit show. Everything's on fire out there. Going to the Los Angeles Rams. Stetson Bennett was drafted to the Rams. He's going to be right behind Matthew Stafford. He might even get the start if Matthew Stafford's not ready to go for this year. Cooper Kupp's going to be coming back off of injury. Rams, I think, could be back into what their normal Super Bowl winning team was. I don't think they'll be as good, but I think they'll be a lot better than the couple wins they had last year. Now, the San Francisco 49ers, they lost to the Eagles, and now they're pissed off. They signed fucking everybody. Sam Darnold signed with them, so who knows what Trey Lance's future is going to be. Because you got Mr. Irrelevant, Purdy. He's going to come back, and he's going to be the quarterback for them. That's just what it's going to be. The biggest thing on defense, they just keep getting better on defense, and it's really frustrating. They take Javon Hargraves, the gravedigger, from the Philadelphia Eagles, and it sucks that he has to go basically now, I guess, in-division rival. But that defense is scary now. It is a fucking scary defense, and I do not envy the offensive lineman going against them this year. 49ers definitely one of the teams to beat this year. Seattle, they're going back to their the 1990s uniforms. They look fucking badass. Basically reloading again, and they're ready to roll with Geno as having a humongous bounce back year and having the comeback player of the year. So good for Geno, and I think they'll be up there. Bobby Wagner comes back to town to add that veteran leadership to the defense again. Seattle will be competing against 49ers for that division win, I think. But that does it. Look at that. We did all the divisions. So like and subscribe to this. And then we're going to get into a couple parts of the power rankings coming up. So bunch of awesome stuff coming here on Touchdown Talk. And college football's right around the corner, so also stay tuned for that. But a little rundown of off-season stuff that happened in the NFL. So hope you enjoyed it. Go check out the whole channel if you like a little bit of racing. We've got another podcast on there, ZB's Horsepower Talk. Two sports I really know about. It's racing and football. So till next time, guys, we'll see you then.